So is what I'm hearing true?
That the horror community is filled with right-wing creeps and other weirdos that are ruining the fun for everyone?
No, that I don't actually have a curse on me anymore.
Well, aren't we all cursed in our own little ways? I mean, don't we all carry some sort of burden?
Right. But is the curse on me individually?
Well, no. I mean, you've done your fair share of movie reviews at this point and redeemed yourself. And besides, I've got a million other white guys with beards on YouTube who are willing to do movie reviews.
I mean, I like doing movie reviews.
Yeah, like I said, you and a million other white guys with beards on YouTube.
So I'm not cursed anymore.
You will forever carry the curse of being lumped in with those other white guys with beards and movie opinions on YouTube.
Well, yeah, except for that.
Yes, the prophecy has been fulfilled and your curse is lifted. So I guess this is the end of Video of the Damned.
I mean, I said I was going to do like quarterly specials. I think that this counts as a special.
So you still want to watch horror movies and review them for fun?
Yeah, and if everything goes to plan, then Colleen will be back on to do the year in review.
That's great and all, but what about me? What about the box that contains all the pain in the world?
I mean, you can still stay in the kitchen. I need somewhere to hold all these matchboxes.
All right, score.
Hi, welcome to Video of the Damned on Morbidly Beautiful. I'm your host, Hub, and I've been pretty busy. I started enjoying Dexter again. I went to like all the Spirit Halloweens within a 20-mile radius of me. I went to the Mercury semifinals and finals games and even got interviewed by USA Today and New York Times about it. Video art I made was shown at an occult theme night at Gracie's Tax Bar in downtown Phoenix. I won friends and influenced people on a work trip to Oregon, which included stops in Portland, Salem, and Eugene. My neighborhood went all out for Halloween, including decorations and witches showing up and showing out. Not to mention Tempe's own legendary haunted house, Terror Nights, which I finally got to do my first tour through. My last visit to the vegan donut paradise known as Sojo's Donuts, which closed down on Halloween 2025. There's the front of the store. I'm going to show you how far the line goes. Spoiler, very, very far. And my longtime pal in front of the show, Tori Holder, came into town for Phoenix Zine Fest. This year, I was an organizer again for the first time since 2019. And I attended Mesa, Arizona's Day of the Dead Festival. There's so much I haven't watched, and I still have to get to. But let me tell you about a few movies I have watched lately, and whether or not you should watch them. I would say watch them all. Make your own opinions, right? But I'm going to tell you about my experience with them. I'm going to start with The Long Walk. Before I talk about the book that this movie is based on, let's talk about the film, The Long Walk. It was directed by Francis Lawrence, who did I Am Legend, Constantine, a bunch of the Hunger Games movies. And then you have the script written by J.T. Mullner, who wrote and directed Strange Darling. The most notable actors you'll recognize are Mark Hamill, of course, from Star Wars and animated Batman stuff as the Joker, and Judy Greer, who horror fans will know from the most recent Halloween trilogy. There's also a Josh Hamilton cameo. He's been in tons of stuff, but I just always remember him from the very creepy The House of Yes. Really, this is an ensemble of young actors. The main two that you follow in conversation for the movie are Cooper Hoffman, who debuted in Licorice Pizza. He played Dick Ebersol in Saturday Night. He was in the Flannery O'Connor bio, Wildcat, directed by the Black Bones, Ethan Hawke. Yes, his dad is Philip Seymour Hoffman. There's not a lot we should really make about that because he's a great actor on his own, but you're definitely going to get some Philip Seymour vibes while he's acting. And then David Johnson, who's been in a bunch of British stuff. American audiences know him from Alien Romulus, and they're definitely going to know him from this because he's brilliant. So a little about the novel. It was written by a young man named Richard Bachman when he was in college. Turned out to actually be Stephen King. And because of that time period, it's definitely a Vietnam allegory. And now it's just an allegory overall for the sacrifice of young men in the military in American wars. Now, in the context of people competing for their lives under a totalitarian power in a dystopian reality. We would see that later in Kushun Takami's Battle Royale. We would see it, of course, in the Hunger Games. We see it now on TV in Squid Games. You even see it in the recent horror movie Dark Harvest, which this felt a lot like. We have a great piece of writing here, though, turned into great filmmaking. You know, there was a lot of attention paid to making it visually compelling, as well as the compelling story, which already existed, and I thought they pulled it off. The writer and director said they were going for not a play. It could very easily turn into theater because it's just really dialogue heavy. And you get that feel, and there's, theatrical actors in this. But they do a great job with it. I've heard a lot of complaints about Mark Hamill being cartoonish as the Major, who is kind of pushing the walk. But, look at our current politics. Our current totalitarians are quite cartoonish, so it fit for me. But let's break it down. The rules of the competition make sense. It's very emotionally compelling, the relationships, and there's gore. There's definitely gore. It's going to make you sad, but it's there. Next up is actually copyrighted 2023, but it became more readily available this year, and I wish I hadn't had to wait so long for it because I really enjoyed it. I think it's going to go in like the pantheon of top Video of the Damned movies. Cannibal Mukbang. With a name like Cannibal Mukbang, you might assume this is a Mondo exploitation film like Cannibal Holocaust. Or maybe you recognize the humor in the premise and you assume it's more video violence or Microwave Massacre from the 80s. Actually, this is a love letter to Frank Henenlotter films. The lead is even nicknamed Brain Damage. And it's also a nod to Sam Raimi because the femme fatale is named Ash. I think there's a dash of Promising Young Woman, Kill Bill, and Jennifer's Body in there too. The stars are April Consolo, Nate Wise, and Clay Von Karlowitz. And it's written and directed by Amy Kuge, who has the same background as I do, reality television. And this is her feature debut. It draws you in as a quirky romantic comedy. They even make a manic pixie dream girl joke just to subvert that expectation right away. And it's a mukbang video influencer meeting meet cute, M-E-E-T, M-E-A-T. I'm sure somebody else has made that joke in a review. She meets a food app delivery man, and they get to know each other's traumatic lives. She's kind of the Elmer to his Brain Damage, and they're both very weird personalities like in Frankenhooker, and there are secrets like in Basket Case. So Kuge has the Henenlotter tribute down, but as far as Ash's motivations for what she eats and how she gets her food, like I said, it comes from that sort of revenge fantasy that we've seen in some other films. Oh, and we should mention a more obscure Henenlotter, Bad Biology, the dysfunctional relationship that has tragedy possibly on the horizon. Yep, this checks that box too. So I can't promise you're going to walk away from this feeling warm and fuzzy, but there is a very definitive and fitting ending, and it's very worth the wild journey. Just, if you have triggers around food and some of the gore might not be to your liking. I enjoyed it, but maybe I'm a sicko. Someone's going to be mad at me for this one. So I'm a big fan of Troma. I'm a big fan of the original Toxic Avenger. And I did see the Toxic Avenger Unrated, which is the remake or reboot or reimagination, what have you, by Macon Blair. What we have here is not a true Troma-style splatter horror comedy. It's a superhero parody like Deadpool or Kick-Ass, and it's just not funny. Here's some examples. They lift scenes from The Departed and The Professional, and they don't make sense. There's this running gag about drilling noises obscuring medical jargon. They do this joke twice. It doesn't make sense to me. I do appreciate the homage to the original. They kind of reverse engineered to include the mop and the tutu iconography. They say Saint Troma instead of like Troma or Tromaville. Elijah Wood and Kevin Bacon are great in it. Peter Dinklage is always great. He was great on Dexter. Ensemble cast generally handles their roles well, but it's overcrowded. There's too many characters. I did not like the band subplot. Fake bands in movies are usually bad, but these were the worst. At least they had an excuse to dress up like Troma weirdos. And we did see some of that in a diner scene that was an homage to the original diner scene. The Miss Meat jokes and the Proud Boys satire was funny. There's also a new interpretation of like Toxie as a fugitive as opposed to a menace. This origin story that is medical bills leading to crime as opposed to like the prank that made Melvin Toxie. That's great stuff. And there's this real life tie-in where the marketing team donated millions to erase medical debt. Awesome. But the silly wasn't funny and the gore wasn't gritty enough. There's like CGI blood. There's not a transformation scene like the original had the practical bubble skin effects. This just does some like cartoon graphics. And, you know, if you're going to go cartoon, let's do a live action adaptation of Toxic Crusaders. That was the original plan years ago when this was in development. The end credits has this schmaltzy Napoleon Dynamite thing going on. There's this after credits joke about Toxie being a bad cook, now a good cook. Like, it wasn't worth building an entire after credits scene around. I think this needed some more editing, some more polish. Works as a odd comic book movie. It is not a true Troma remake. Street Trash pulled off a better reimagining. I think I'd just like to see a different writer-director handle this. Last we have Weapons. No spoilers, no synopsis, just vibes. Zach Krager wrote and directed this. Previously, he did Barbarian. This film, however, has a lot more in common with Longlegs in that there's some logic leaps, there's symbolism, there's visuals that are very disturbing, but also some funny moments. If you know anything about Krager, you know that he was part of a comedy troupe. He lost one of those members, Trevor Moore, who passed away in an accident. And he has said that this is a meditation on that grief, but in a very symbolic way, tapping more into David Lynch, I would say, than your typical horror movie. All the performances are great. The twists are great. The ending is fantastic, and everybody who saw this either seemed to have loved it or is a naysayer who hated it, and I don't know why. I think it's a very interesting story. It's almost like a fairy tale or a campfire story. I definitely recommend seeing Weapons, but go in as unaware as you can. Don't watch trailers. I had to edit spoilers out of this one. Don't even read reviews. Don't even watch this one. Why are you watching this? Just go watch Weapons. So that's all I got for you for a little while. I think the next time I see you will probably be in December for the year in review, where Colleen Carney Hefner of Fangoria and Drunk Monkeys comes on to look at the last year in horror with me. And I love her, and yet we disagree on so many things. I think there will be movies that come out between now and then that she will refuse to see that I will rave about, and vice versa. So looking forward to that conversation. In the meantime, have a happy Halloween. Be safe trick-or-treating. Check your candy, not because, you know, that myth about razor blades is real, but somebody might give you Whoppers, and those suck. So maybe I shouldn't say that. I don't want to be sued by whatever confectionery company puts those out. Whoppers are great for somebody, just not for me. So until then, I remain Hub.